That actually wasn't as bad. That's
Not too bad.
Yeah,
not
okay.
too bad.
All right, good morning. Update for the program. Right now we're at 27 clients, so we have 27 agents in the program, which is fantastic. Year to date, they've closed just under 6.9 million. So that's over 300,000 in GCI that these new agents have been able to bring home to their families, which is awesome. It's totally awesome. I'm excited about that. And we've got a lot of stuff in the pipeline. There's 9 under contract right now. So the next couple of months are already looking good. They're taking listings. It's an exciting time. It's an exciting time. Cool. We have rebranded a little bit. So our names are going to be shifting. We discussed it being tier 1, tier 2. It really isn't exciting at all. So Rachel and I, along with Deb, our MAPS coach for the program.
Deb Jolly is one of the top MAPS coaches for productivity coaching.
Fantastic, yeah. We've all kind of rebranded, and it's actually going to be level 1 will be foundation coaching. So foundation coaching is those first 5 transactions. It's about setting the foundation for your business. And then from transaction 6 to 10, that's going to be momentum coaching. And again, these are opt-in, so they could just do foundation and continue on their way. Or if they find enough value and they want that accountability, they can go to the next level. And that's going to naturally lead into them being towards the cappers and getting into either breakthrough coaching for MAPS or mastery coaching as they go up, and they're cappers consistently. So it's just about making sure we have all of those production levels covered.
Well, and I'm also really excited because Brian is also in the process of potentially bringing on a personal assistant as well.
Yes.
And so leveraging himself is going to be key for the next stages of the productivity coaching program and your team.
Exactly. Yeah. So we teach the leverage model. Productivity coaching is no different, right? If we want the program to grow and to provide more value to more people, means I need some help. So I'm hoping to have an admin in place by the end of this quarter. So that way we can be onboarded, ready to go January 1st, and have someone that works as both coaching support and support for my team too.
Fantastic. So cool. Any questions for Brian as he's here? Any thoughts, any suggestions for the productivity coaching program from everyone here this morning?
Great job, Brian.
Thanks, Mark. You're welcome, Brian. Appreciate it. I know I'll mention one thing. I know I've talked. And as a way to leverage, if you need accountability.
I love that you offer that because a lot of market centers and the productivity coaching programs don't think of it that way. And that is an absolute huge value add for leveraging training, talent, coaching for someone that you might not have the time if you want to help them get into the business, but they aren't necessarily a huge fit for your team at that moment because they're so green. Leveraging the productivity coaching program would be a huge way to do that. So a lot of times people forget about that.
Some of those initial conversations that I have with clients too, or potential clients, is, hey, should I join a team or not? I can tell you one thing that's unique about me is I started on a team and I've run a team, right? So I'm not one that says what a lot of productivity coaches have said in the past, which is, oh, you should always start as an individual agent first. If it's the right fit for the right team and the right person, and the right people are in the right seats on the bus, right? That's the most important thing. So,
in fact, one of the major things we did yesterday was going through our roster of people that have been with our office 1, 2, 3, 4 months and not necessarily have done a deal and or haven't really been a part of a lot of business. And we know that they are our Rachel did a great job of kind of illustrating that these are the people that are technically in danger. Right? If you're in the business for 3, 4 months and you haven't closed the deal, money starts to run out unless there's some other source of income. Or and so we actually went through and I called a bunch of people yesterday that were in that category to then talk about and work on potentially getting either back in coaching or getting back in front of Brian as a potential of going, wow, I can't do it on my own. I do need a coach. This would be a way to do that. Yeah. So excellent.
I'm really happy that we've already had, now it's been 4 people transition. To me, it's not about the income. I don't want to keep them there longer so I can try and be fully profit focused. I'm people focused. Better fit for them to transition.
Fantastic. Thank you, Brian. Everybody give Brian a round of applause. All right, so we've been doing our book club. Anybody else been a part of the book club, wants to continue to, go on to the next book? Which one was the last book you guys read in the book club? Or have you already been doing a book study of your own on your own? Let's talk about what you guys are reading these days. Anybody reading anything good? We are talking about last month's book, which was Atomic Habits. And we are in the process of reading this month, The Psychology of Money. So has everybody read Psychology of Money yet? 1, 2, yeah. Man, that is a killer book. If you haven't read it, what do you think it's about? This is always the most difficult part of this ALC meeting in the mornings, getting you guys to remember what you've read. Yes, please. Good job, Mike.
So a couple things. I've really kind of pushed myself this year. I actually read every book that for ALC.
Woo! Hey,
Awesome.
yeah, it's good. Applause worthy.
But I love the psychology of money.
No, you're not the only one.
And here I am in a position that I'm basically like a well. So that they don't feel like.
Yeah. Wasn't that awesome?
And I was like, I have to get and it was on our.
Ah, I love it.
And so he's
Yes.
already.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of
It's definitely making its rounds.
Aaron has tested it, but
That's an interesting point that you brought up. I actually, social media, it's really good and really terrible at times. But there was this thing I saw on Instagram that was that exact conversation. When you're a kid and you ask your parents, like, how much money do you make? And they're like, oh, no, you don't ask that question. Or when you get older and you ask that question to somebody else, it's like, that's very uncomfortable. But yet that's our reality, right? And then it makes it more normalized to have those conversations with our clients. So I love that you got that perspective because I just saw that the other day. It's really cool.
I also love that Atomic Habits really does a great job of leading into the psychology of money. Like, wow, right? And I love that story in Psychology of Money that plays into the habits part for this study. And that is you had that janitor who literally just ticked away and was smart with, and no formal training, no big, degree. It was literally that he was just smart and put it and logical and stayed consistent. And that habit of doing that. And then you had the other guy making huge money, huge banker, investor, and all this, fancy degrees and, horrible with his habits of money and the way that he viewed what money is and what money can do. And yeah, the outcomes, one left $8 million to their to the future and giving away, and the other one completely lost everything. So we could know all the things you need to know about money, or you could know everything you need to know about the MREA, but whether you're actually living that out or taking advantage of that knowledge is a whole nother piece. Oh. Don't do it.
You guys remember this
Oh.
when he was a valet?
Right.
Anybody? So he tells a story about whenever he was living in California and he was working at like the Beverly, whatever, what Wilshire, I should know the answer. But
The
I don't.
hotel.
So yeah, the Beverly Hotel, and he was working as a valet, and he's like, you would just sit there and you would see this like Ferrari, Lamborghini, and it was just like car, and he's like, I would be the valet and I would look at those and I would say, I would wonder what it feels like to have that.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden a gentleman showed up and he was just like in a Honda. And so he was like, and it just kept showing up. And he said, well, where'd your car go? And he said, well, it got repossessed. So, I lived in LA for 3 years, many, many moons ago. And, that's the thing. It's like everything's very, very flashy, but a lot of times people can't afford the gas that goes in their car.
That's right.
And he said, the funny thing that was about that was that it made me realize that I never, ever looked at the person that was driving the car and thought that they were someone like really amazing, or like, what do they do? It was the object that I felt like would give me some type of satisfaction.
Yeah.
And I thought that that was really, really interesting. And I read through that part like 3 or 4 times, just because, I think that, everybody can get caught up in that, but financially, where's that person actually? And so that's where at the end of the book, whenever he starts talking about like personal development and where you have to like internalize and come to yourself where money means to you.
Right.
And it could be like the very most frugal person, Gary Keller, a lot of his podcasts and stuff, he says, we lived in the same house for many, many years. I never drove a fancy car. And then we built our dream home, and people were like, oh, like you just have no idea.
Uh-huh.
And I love that, because it's not about the object, it's about the person. However, most people want the object. They don't think about the person and where they are financially.
Absolutely. I just love everything you just said. It's super awesome. I mean, Mike, you guys gonna say something?
I will. I have to agree, and it actually a lot of what Carrie brought out has been conversations we've had even in our house and with my wife and I, just the power of that. And we dove into it. The one thing that stood out to me was the genetics, and that if you have a 6'5" son, the likelihood that his little brother is going to be 6'5" is less likely than if that 6'5" son was a rich, was good with money or turned out wealthy. And we got to talking about it and dissecting our families, and really just kind of from a 10,000-foot view, the differences in our families and how some of the similarities and challenges we've had through our marriage and different things have been because of that psychology of money and what was taught, and where things have been in some of those. So it was, I'm more in I'm in, I think, chapter 15 right now. So, but it's a powerful book, just looking at it, and it's seems more about life in general, if that makes sense, than.
It's not a condemning book, though, is it?
No.
It's a very heartfelt book that touches on sensitive parts in a very positive way, that I feel like it's not like condemning in a way where a lot of financial books make you feel bad or make you feel like, ugh. I mean, there are parts that do definitely bring out the, they're like, ooh, I need to get better at that, but I would say that it is very in a positive way.
Yeah, and to one point, he talked about another book, I can't remember, that was written originally in 1934. Anyways, how a lot of financial books tell you, here's how you do it, follow these steps. And the truth is, it changes.
Yeah.
And how you were raised, that was in the beginning of the book when he talked about the different generations based on when you were born, showed you were more likely to do this, that, or the other. And he didn't really talk about 06, but like teenagers that were kids that were teenagers in 06 to 2010 probably had a harder time getting into real estate, is where my mind went with it, just as far as buying their first home, because they saw their parents lose everything.
That's right.
And because there was Yep. And there was a point where, I remember there being in the early 2010s, people talking how the millennials, they may never buy houses. It's a good thing they were wrong.
Yeah. Well, and to go off that just real quick, and then we'll get into our rest of our agenda. I would say that in California, millennials still have a very hard time buying. So this is a place where millennials can buy. And even now, it's funny that we still refer to millennials as this, young people. Millennials in their mid-30s, right? So, I mean, it's not a phrase. It's now Gen Xers, or I forget exactly even beyond that. But there's But there's another one. Yeah. But it's really, they are the teenagers to 20-year-olds and so it's funny how people almost feel like millennials are the last one, but that was a long time ago that they were the last one. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay,
It's
cool.
funny that you say that. At my former job, my boss would always talk about millennials and what they're doing. And I'm like, you're also a millennial though, because it's such a wide range.
Yes, it
But it was
is.
so funny. Oh, those millennials. And I'm like, that's you. Like,
Uh-huh.
not just me, it's you too.
Yeah, I'm like 1 year almost a millennial. Yeah, it's crazy. And I'm almost 40. So it's like, come on now, we need to start calling their generations as what they are.
And the generation that freaked out during 2007 and 8 and saw all that terrible, that's an older generation now. And the generation below them, that's a historical event. So they don't have the same fear. Like Austin, we were talking about this the other day. We were saying with somebody, where were you in 2007? And you're like, junior high? Yeah. So some of them, it's not the same mindset that the generation before had about the whole Great Recession or whatever they called it.
Well, and the difference, well, we can keep going on all this, but that book, if you have not read it yet, please do. It is epically good. It's probably in one of my top 10 books of the last couple years.
It was on Gary Keller's book list.
Start with the podcast. Sets it off on such a great tone. Love that. Yeah, not everybody's seen that podcast. I love that you've seen it because it really does add a whole nother level of perspective.
Mhm.
Excellent. Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing. Appreciate that very much, Carrie. All right, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance, shall we? Guy, would you start us off?
Absolutely.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Austin, for participating.
Awesome. We're all looking at Austin right there. Love you, brother. He's like, I'm on it. All right. Love it.
That's funny.
All right. Shall we?
Okay, so the minutes from July of last month, has anybody had a chance to review and submit for approval? Okay. Anyone second? Okay, Doug? Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So first page, vital signs scorecard. That is the first page of all of ours. And I am so excited. We increased our vital signs scorecard by 2 points. So now we are 80 out of 100 over last month.
That's no small thing, by the way.
So that's what I was about to discuss. So the metrics that increased. So agents with a closed unit this month. Last month our points were 4 out of 10. This month our points are 6 out of 10. And then agents with a listing last month, it was 4 and that decreased down to 1. So that's where we got the 80. So we saw listings drop by 1, but closed units go up by 2. And then now that we have officially hit the 400 mark of the agents, we will be seeing that number increase here shortly as well.
Mhm.
I will say our points did not increase with smart plans. However, our percentage did jump. So agents are tagging more into smart plans. And then once we hit that metric of attaining 5 out of 5, that's when we will jump up. Yes, hold on.
I got it.
Don't try to get up again.
Yeah.
Okay. She's been working out, so she's sore.
We're doing a 66-day challenge and, just not medial points, either nothing or everything. It's very
With
hard.
just being, and this is something I should
Yeah.
know, but as part of the tech part of the ALC, what percentage do we need to get to be at 5 out of 5?
So I will
just
have
as a
to
goal.
look at that. It's so
I believe it's 50,
50%.
50%.
Okay, so we will double check on that for that increase to obtain.
I actually said this recently. I was on a Zoom chat kind of forum, internal KW, and I want to say that agents that are using smart plans is like having buyers that are pre-approved. It's a very similar correlation because you could have a whole lot of buyers, but if they're not pre-approved, how real are they? It's like our agents in that way where we've got a lot of agents, but if they're not using smart plans, are they plugged into our tech? And if they're not plugged into our tech, then they're not utilizing the tools that are going to help them in their success, immediate success, right? So it's almost like that's creating real agents versus having just people that say they want to buy. Does that make sense? So as far as tech goes for you and Brent, that's a key element that we would really want to pour into. That if they're starting to use smart plans, that's a whole nother level of buyers in the pipeline.
One thing that can help that a lot, we're going to start having a guest speaker, either live or Zoom on the first team meeting of every month. Sam Jackson, not Samuel Jackson, but Sam Jackson, who is the tech director for Georgia, is doing a whole thing with us this September 7th team meeting. If you've not looked at smart plans, or if you looked at Command a year ago, it's different.
Very, very
And
different.
it's so built for teams now, it's worth exploring. He's going to be on for about 20 or 30 minutes with us on the September 7th meeting.
And one of my whole goals with all of you is to reduce your expenses. And I know a lot of your teams and or yourselves are not necessarily using Command. I know I was spending $1,500 to $2,000 a month on the CRM systems and tools that I was using just for CRM stuff and follow up. So I'll say that you could take that cost to pretty much zero immediately. And that Command is really able to be more robust than it was, like Mike said, a year ago. All right. Oh, Mike. Oh, don't.
Well,
Looking back on the ALC minutes of 2021, on the market share report, KW Springfield, days on market 40, Branson 26. How did we get those numbers?
those are the average days on market for our market center based out of the MLS. So broker metrics are tied in with our MLS system, and that's
Okay.
how they get the numbers.
So they're seeing, but that's off of the first time it goes on the market. So if it goes off and then comes back on, that's still.
Well, it's also counting all properties, all statistics, or all counties, all properties. So let's say if there was a commercial property or a land property that maybe you've had a listing for 3 or 4 years, and those days on markets are going to be, it's the average, right? So the high number compared to a low number of days on market of 2, it will average it out. So that's where they get the number.
What I meant by that is that's cumulative days on market. That's not when something goes off and comes back on.
I have a quick,
Correct.
On this current month's, yeah.
Yep. 13.9.
Rachel, I have a question on the market center performance.
Okay.
ALC capper percent, that will never be 100% because of everybody's cap dates are different. Is that correct? Or
Nope. ALC capper percent, that is, yes, and it's within the last 12 months, right? So this is not year to date, it's last 12 months. And it will take off of where everybody's capped at in certain areas.
And what percent do we have to hit for that to go up? Is that 80?
I would have to look at all
Okay.
of those. All of
So
those
we don't have to hit 100% to get up to 5 out of 5. There's a percentage amount.
If my cap reset last month,
Mhm.
then I would be a no
You're
on
not
that.
contributing, correct.
Well, no, if it reset, is that why that number's not 100%? Yeah,
Ah,
is just because of the timing of when it resets. It almost feels like it ought to be has capped in the last 12 months. But I think it's has capped today on a rolling.
Like they may have titled it wrong.
I don't know. I'm just saying, whatever the number that is, like, I'm not there. 63% sounds like a crazy low number.
especially since
It seems like a weird way that they're doing it, but I don't know.
Reason why they do
If I remember correctly, it's that the amount of people on the ALC that are currently capped. So we have on the ALC, 63% of you are capped currently. That's does that serve your memory correctly as well?
So the reason why I believe this is off, for instance, you run production through Monica for profit share. You run it through Carolyn. So you are. Yeah. So that's though you guys. Yep. So you guys are never. Yes, but all the cap goes under your significant other for profit share reasons. So like when you guys will never technically cap because of that. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 people on the ALC that will never essentially have production run through their name. Great questions.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah. You're welcome for receiving profit share, but come on. Yeah. Okay. So agents add and remove. So in the month of July, we grossed 15 agents. 3 of those were part of joining teams. So Lindy Bunch and Ashley Clarno were already part of the Market Center. They just came active status. So that is why they're on here. And July agents that were removed, we had 1, 2, 3 go into referral. 2 of them we sent back to the state and 3 transfers out. So that gave us a net of 7 to equal right at 400 agents.
Whew, it was close.
We were sweating it the last couple days
Yeah,
of the
we
month
were.
to do the 400 party. We're like, this has got to stay.
And then when we go to our multi-year trends, so right now, month to date numbers, as far as the Market Center, we currently have closed 241 units, which last July, August, we closed 485. So that's where we're at currently with those numbers. So if you guys were in team meeting, we'll probably be covering the same numbers today as we did this last team meeting. So closed units, currently we are at 18.3% growth, and this is on page 3, year-to-date growth for closed units. As you can see, last July was our highest number, 585. And then this current July, we closed 518 units. Again, it's just part of the market because in June, we had 560 closed units and the previous June was 489. So we're currently at 3,371 closed units to date with an 18.3% growth. Then as we flip over to the next page, page 4, we're looking at closed sales volume. So last year we were able to achieve $1 billion in closed sales volume. Currently we're at 757,358,529. So we are well on our way there with a 40.5% growth in closed sales volume. So if you walk into our leadership office, the big numbers that are above our whiteboard is where we're at for closed volume. So we are tracking that after transmittal and putting those numbers up there. So it's a visual of where we're at.
That's the second highest ever, by the way, all the way back till 2013. So that was an 82% growth. I don't know exactly what happened during that time, but I think that that was when the Market Center was like growing by brokerages or something like that. But so a 40% increase year over year is outrageous, amazing.
And so when we think about it, that's 128 million in properties that we have closed in 1 month. Then when we go to our listings taken number on page 5, listings taken is down. We are down 2.7% year to date. However, what was interesting on KWRI statistics and the regional statistics, they are both up in their listings taken. So this is an area of opportunity for us as a Market Center on how can we train more listings focus to increase our Market Center percentage, because we're seeing all of KWRI having a positive number at least. I believe Brian Fisher brought up a good point to Mike of a training class we will be bringing is how to market a listing that's on the market for more than 30 days, right? Well, what are the practices? Because a lot of agents are coming in and they maybe don't understand the full process of how to market a listing outside of putting it on social media, putting it in an internal page, and maybe shooting a fun video about it. So how do we train agents for if the market shifts on how to have that listing be more marketable moving forward?
Yeah, and just making it purposeful to listings. I mean, he or she who has the listings controls the market. And so if the rest of the United States of KW is going up with listings, that is definitely, like she said, an opportunity for us to be more purposeful about where and how we are marketing our listings to get more.
Okay, page 7, contracts written.
And accepted.
Yeah, and accepted. I'll never forget when Mark asked that question. I love it so much.
Yes.
Well, I wrote like 5 offers. That's 5 contracts. No, these are all accepted. So currently, so in the month of July, we had 618 contracts written into our system. We are up 16.2% year to date in that. When you look at our numbers, it's crazy. From March of 2021 up until July, or excuse me, February, up until July, we've been at least over 500 contracts written in our market. So we're looking at this as a market center as what are we projecting in the next 30 days to close, of how much we're projecting to close, how much of that is company dollar versus how many of that is capped agents, as far as in terms for profit share and profitability of the market center. Another point on the contracts written when we're looking at this, it's more of how do we also have agents enter the contracts in a little bit faster than normal? Because some agents, right after they go into contract, they're already they're putting it into command as a commission, so it's tracking in our system. Others, we may not see them writing contracts until 2 days before close, or like putting in their commissions 2 days before close. So how do we narrow that gap? And I think this has always been a conversation, even when we had green sheets, of how do we get those in on a faster basis so we can project it a little bit more steadier.
I have a point there. If you look at 2019, there is not a single month that went above 600 units, contracts written, and in, like Mike said, accepted. And then in 2020, there were literally 3 months that went above 600 to an extreme degree. And we have already hit 3 months of over 600 this year. So that is very powerful to just know that factor.
Yes, Doug, Mike,
Oh,
can you take?
good job.
And just on that, where people are waiting till last minute to put those in, if I remember correctly, we had that a few years ago too, and we kind of put it out and put a face to it saying, hey, and it was when Renee was here, you guys are making a whole lot extra work for Renee. And all of a sudden people started doing it again by personalizing it, saying, no, it's not just this company thing.
Well said.
You know what I mean?
Who would
So-
want to do that to Renee?
Right, exactly. And
Yeah.
I think things jumped in a big hurry when people realized that, hey, you're by waiting on this,
It's
you're
affecting.
you're affecting her and making a lot of extra work for her. Can you start doing? Because I think it was supposed, isn't it in the bylaws we're supposed to do it
Then
by
4 days,
4 days?
of going under contract. Yep.
So just
We could mention that in the team meeting, Mike.
Yeah, I understand the reasoning behind with agents, especially because there's a lot of changes between whenever you go under contract potentially with your commission between now. But yes, that's a great point. Okay, page 8. So we asked this in team meeting. We asked what you guys thought our average sales price in the market center was for 2021. And so for the average so far this year, we are at 224,000 as the average sales price within our market center. In July alone, that was 248,000. So when we look back at the previous years, 2020, that was 196,000, 2019, 173, 2018, 169. So you can see how much it's increased over just a few short years. And year to date, it's up 18.8% on average sales price. I know, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's outrageous, really, and it's kind of mind blowing to see it happening this quickly.
Yep. And so now when we're talking to agents, like I've said this before, it's when we were talking with new agents, we're saying, okay, average commission is 150,000. This is how much you can project for your commission. It's like, that's not the case anymore. So let's bump that up.
Well, and I would say, I'm sorry to cut you off. This is so powerful to get listings. When we talk about listings, when we talk about increasing that opportunity for everybody here, I mean, how powerful is it to go, by the way, we have the greatest year-to-date percentage growth in listing and or sales price ever. Look, I mean, there's nowhere, 11% is the closest to our 8%, 18, almost 19%. So when you talk about with your listings or people wanting on the fence to potentially sell, this is an incredible time.
Yeah. So is this just the GSBOR or is this? okay,
This is our
GSBOR
market center.
inside-
It's an
Okay, market center
office.
inside of GSBOR. Okay, is there any way of seeing that compared to,
The average sales price within the Greater Springfield Board of Realtors versus us?
that's my question.
Yes.
Potentially, I would have to see what report or who I could get that from. But yes, I will look at it.
The your Flex MLS has some reports in there. They're really easy. If you'd like, I could pull those up. We could have those on the team meeting as well. Yep. It is in Broker Metrics as well. The Broker Metrics, I think personally, is a little bit more off because I trust the MLS more than Broker Metrics, but
Broker metrics doesn't work in Missouri because we're a non-disclosure state. So there's all kinds of things. Like if you do a house and you put it in as a 0, that averages as a 0 sales price instead of a non-disclose. So Missouri, it doesn't work right.
it's a good factor to watch.
It's as close as Zillow is. Seriously, because that's the same number Zillow gets. So it's the same accuracy rate as Zillow.
Okay, page 9, closed gross commission income. So year to date, January through end of July, we have closed $20,951,523 in gross commission
What page is
income.
that?
9.
Page 9.
Okay.
Which is a 42.5% increase for our agents. So when we talk about this is income coming in to our agents' pockets, especially with the capping model. So that is so exciting to see. In July alone, we paid out $3.6 million to our agents.
Highest ever. We literally, by breaking almost reaching 21 million, we are at the number for all of 2018. That's right. That's right.
Okay, the next one let me move some pages over. So page 17, let's talk profit share. For the year of 2021, so far we have paid out $275,927 to our agents in profit share. That is almost a 40% increase year to date over this time last year. I actually was doing some calculations since today is our grand opening party. And since we've been in this building since last July, so July 2020 until July of 2021, we have paid back to our agents $526,978, $500,000 back to our agents in a year. So that's a story that we need to share and we need to get out there of it's more about selling real estate. It's about helping our agents create a life that they truly want and creating a legacy for them. So
More than just about selling real estate.
yep. Okay, any questions over that? Feel like just kind of, okay, great. We will move on to our market share totals.
Well, actually, real quickly, because of some of the phases of things that we've talked about in the past about our office being more competitive in the market, some of the things that we've talked about with cap structure, and this is, upholding that level of being able to profit share that level of dollar value is kind of what Mike and I been working on. Rachel, all of us been really pouring into seeing how we can maintain and grow our ability to profit share. That is one of the healthiest indicators of how the office is being run. It's kind of like knowing you don't have a temperature. Like it is just super powerful to be able to uphold a level of giving back to our agents through profit share. So we'll be looking at that a lot in the near future.
Okay, market share totals. So the first one is units and the second page is volume. We are at 12% for the market share totals of the broker metrics,
Right
the first
after.
graph. Yep. For units. So when we compare again this month to last month, the number one company listed last month, they were 14.1% market share. This month, they are 13.8% market share. Last month, we were 12.2. This month, we're 12%. Keller Williams Tri-Lakes has increased by 0.2% over month. And then as we go through, EXP has increased by 0.3%. Reese Nichols has stayed the same. Worley has increased by 0.1. Amax is the same. And then Murny Nixa and Remax have flip-flopped in places with percentages. And then when we look, there's producing agents on this report and days on market as well. Our market center days on markets have jumped down by 3 days from this month to last month.
Which is a big jump on average.
Okay, perfect. Anything you want to touch on those reports?
Nope. Everything's pretty typical, other than the fact that we're definitely, I mean, that second one, 12.7% is a big jump.
Okay, cool. So then we go onto our balance sheet for expenses. If we turn it over onto the back page of the balance sheet, things we always want to point out is our Springfield Cares account. So currently we have $4,851 in our Springfield Cares account. As we've been reviewing with the financial committee on our financials every month, we're seeing consistently about $400 to $500 a month also being donated to KW Cares as well. So that is directly given off of a commission, just like Springfield Cares. However, that does not go onto our balance sheet because we pay that directly every month to KWRI. So if we want, I don't know if there's anything you guys have an idea of how we can increase this balance. If we ever need it, sometimes we do like a lunch or for a donation or anything like that. We're always open to ideas on how we can receive more money in order to have this for our agents. Also, on that same note, if you guys know any of our agents that are in a hardship or financial struggle that you think that could be a benefit of this money, please always reach out and let us know. If there is ever a need, we will present the need to the ALC. We will take a vote on it with the dollar amount, and that's how the funds would be distributed. So if you ever hear of any agents in our market center that need it, please let us know. Okay. And that is all for the financials.
Awesome.
Because it doesn't like that there's that. So that is the money that we use to pay our E&O in a 3-tiered basis. And so they don't like that amount is too high. However, our E&O jumped 45% this year over last year because of our growth. And so that account will have more money in there than the normal standard of what they want. So previously, so just to give you a rough idea, our E&O insurance for all of our agents is roughly $105,000 a year. Previously, it was like 80,000, 70,000. So when I first got the quote, I said, "Whoa, what's going on?" And they said, "Well, when you have a 45% increase in business, then that's what you get." And I was like, "Okay, fair."
Yeah,
Fair
great. So penalize us, right?
Yeah.
Well, that means that you have that much more likelihood of issues happening. It's you drive a lot more, your insurance is higher.
Or just contract issues, things like that. Because we have different, lawsuits that come along. And so then we use this money as part of paying the KW deductible as well. Because like when legal bills come in, our policy is we bill 70% of that back to the agents. And the market center has 30% of it. However, when we have to, sometimes agents don't pay those bills right away because we have to pay them directly to the lawyer and then we get reimbursed that way. So having those funds available.
So what Rachel just went over about this money is what we talk about in the finance committee meetings once a month. So if you want to learn more about what all these things mean, come to those meetings. They're 8 a.m. They're down here and we'll tell you the date when it's our turn to talk on our committee.
Well, and honestly, it's really the part of the ALC is this is a instance where are you looking at your numbers this way, right? As leaders, are you looking at your expenses, where your financials in your P&L are? And if not, schedule some time. Let's go through them because if you can't change what you don't track. And so let's make sure that you guys, especially as our top teams and cultured agents, are following that example. Go ahead, Doug.
And I'm assuming that the $25 a month that every agent puts in is where that goes.
Yep.
So at 400, that's 10 grand a month.
Mhm.
That's plugging into that account.
Mhm.
So, even if it's $105,000,
Yeah.
we're bringing in 120.
Mhm.
So,
And then, so we use that extra for lawsuits that we have right the way. Yep.
And
Hold on.
Other 25 for.
Well, because she's licensed.
Mhm.
So if they have license capabilities, then they're part of the E&O.
Just so you're aware, at other brokerages, you pay $20 per transaction instead of $25 a month. Some of them call it a risk rate, and $20 is the minimum I've seen. Some of them are 25. I think one is 40. So us paying, because we teach people so well, our claims are actually lower, and that's why we do have a lower rate than some places.
We can't speak for what they do with
Yeah.
theirs. Yeah.
I think they buy cheesy puffs, but who knows?
Yeah, in California, it's $220 per transaction.
Okay, great questions. Okay, upcoming events. So today we have our 400 Party and Grand opening. We are doing a ribbon cutting with the Chamber of Commerce at between 4 and 4:30. So if you guys want to be a part of that, we would love to have you in the big group picture. We will have Great American Title here, grilling hot dogs and hamburgers. We have the no bake cookie food truck here to get your no baked cookie sweet tooth filled, I guess.
Do you all know what that is? Think orange leaf yogurt, but instead of yogurt, it's no-bake cookie dough and toppings on top of it. It's good.
Dina, the
Glad I'm on a sugar
balloon
fast
animal
right now.
lady, she will be here. So you guys can get your own balloon animal if you would like. We will have macadoodles here as well. And we have music, and I feel like I'm forgetting what. Oh, the Hickory Lane flower plant truck will also be here as well. They're also the ones outside of Neighbors Mill you see frequently, so they'll be here. But we would love for you guys to be here and celebrate. And again, you're more than welcome to be in the picture for our chamber. Yes.
Do we need to move all our cars that are parked on that?
We've already started. You can kind of see like the psycho kind of park sideways. That was me. We're already starting to block some of those parking lanes off. So I think you should be good.
So
But-
we will have people touring the building, so make sure your area looks clean and pretty. If you see anything, help us because we're on cleaning duty all day long.
That's right. And I had sent out an email of just asking for your support. And as ALC members, this is definitely an opportunity for our office to be shown in just as positive a light as it can be. So I would just also, if you guys could make good on that, and I know a lot of you almost everybody on there had responded with that they're intending to invite and to be there and to support all the other agents that are newer to the office and want to see some of the top producers be part of that culture that does exist and shining a light in where you can all be a part of.
And most of the real estate community has been curious about this building for the last year.
True.
Invite them over. I mean, this is for everybody to come to. I know most of the board of realtors or not the board, but the staff is coming over. I know of a couple title companies are coming. People are curious about what we've done with this building. So if you know of an agent that's a possible, someone for us, bring them over. Macadoodles will be here too.
Yeah, and
Help
take
the
some
edge.
Yeah.
take some pictures. I know our culture committee, if you guys would help us make sure that pictures are being taken around and, hey guys, get together, take a picture and we'll post those. And
And we'll have a photographer here as well.
yeah,
Yep.
obviously we'll have a photographer, but each of you has so much more influence than you realize. And so if you are taking pictures and showing off that way, everybody loves to be a part of that.
Okay, so next week is Mega Camp. So one big event after another. So right now, I think we have almost 70 people registered for our Market Center Mega Camp. So for those of you that were going to attend in Austin, your tickets the ticket amount should have been refunded to you, and you get a digital ticket for free. So if you want to join here at the Market Center event, let us know. You'll get a fun Market Center shirt that we designed and a Keller Williams Greater Springfield Bluetooth speaker. So we are hoping. We're going to air the main stage sessions here in the training room, in the tech room, all of that. Breakout sessions, we're going to allow agents to kind of go off and do their own. Of the people of our Market Center who were going to be on a panel, like for instance, Wes Litton, Jen Davis, and I believe Emily Baker, we're going to have them come and mastermind over those panels here also as part of the Mega Camp experience as well. So if you guys haven't already registered, please do. Ticket prices, if you haven't registered like through Mega Camp itself, it does increase tomorrow. So right now it's $160 for the Market Center digital and in person. And then the ticket prices there are like $129. So I believe it will jump up to like $139, $149 tomorrow.
I'm going to say something, and Tim and Rachel, close your ears for a second. If you know of an agent from somewhere else that needs to come to part of it, just bring them. We won't buy a ticket for them. They don't hear that. But I'd rather get forgiveness than permission and get them here.
That's right.
So that's right.
Yeah.
So basically, if you know somebody that's curious about things or wants to come for one of the main sessions, bring them in.
And I actually adhere to this as well because their brokerages are not doing this. They're not getting that high level coaching or that high level ideas being shared, the golden things that other teams are really killing it at, and they're just open and sharing these things. Not only that, but hearing about what the future of our industry is doing, hearing about what the markets are doing across the United States, where the projections of where we see these are outrageously valuable things that other agents and other brokerages that you care about and know and are friends with don't have. And so being able to bring them, we would love to have them. And I know a lot of them are curious about our building and seeing it. So it's a rare opportunity. I love that some of you are actually renting out space outside during the mega camp time to agents that don't feel comfortable coming to the office. Paulina, I know we had talked, or Austin, you as well. Are like going to invite some of your top targeted agents that you love and think are a great fit for KW, and having them coming doing a mastermind during that time of some of the main stage events. That is so cool. I would highly advise that as well. If they don't feel comfortable coming here, maybe bringing it to a place where they feel comfortable doing it. And since it's remote and you have access to it from anywhere, you could host that event yourself. So very powerful. If you want to look into doing that, I'd be glad to kind of coach to it. I'm doing it back in California for some of the people that I just think are crucial that need to be with KW. So I'm looking forward to that. And I won't be there, I'll be here. And yet our team's doing that as well. So
Cool. Okay, so Austin had tagged me in an Aaron Kaufman post, and so I've reached out to Aaron Kaufman, and we are going to try to bring him in by the end of the year. Now, I'm also on a call today because we may have got approved to have Bold in our market center starting in October. So I'm waiting to hear confirmation on that first before I book Aaron, so we can figure out the dates so it's not overlap on that. So we are looking at bringing Aaron Kaufman in. He is willing to come and do an in-person session, so that's awesome. And then
Can you tell about who he is?
yeah, so for those of you that don't know, Aaron Kaufman is a profit share guru. And so the last time we brought him in was probably beginning of 2018, end of 2017. I think it was right after I first started. And he is going to talk about how he built his profit share tree, the things he's doing for lead generation, and what profit share really means. If you guys follow Aaron on social media, you'll see he's never in the same place for very long because he's traveling all the time because of the benefits of profit share. So we're so excited. And thank you, Austin, for tagging me in that. And we're trying to get that connected. We will also find out today if we get Bold in person. If it does, it will start in October. Bold is a little bit different than previously. Instead of all day, it's 3 hours. And so it's the same amount of time, but just once a week for 3 hours. And so I'm interested to see what the format is. And once I have more information, I will pass that on. Bold? Yes. So I told them not to give us, I don't want virtual.
no.
And so I said, I only want in person. And so I'm on a logistics call today to see what that looks like. If we're either October or January, because originally we asked for August, then they said, no, it's virtual. And I said, well, I don't want that. Because then they would, even if we held it here, every person would have to be on their laptop so they could see everyone's faces. And that's just a little weird. So then
we fought our Bold coach and we were like, no, we need it in person. We cannot have this. We will not subject our agents to that. And so I love that she's and I are on the same page when it comes to having an in-person Bold, and for it to be only 3 hours. I think that's an incredible switch in a way where making it far more acceptable for our agents to be able to attend more purposefully. I agree.
So no, that's what I'm trying to figure out. And so the reason I'm on the call today is they were going to offer in person first to the people that had Bold virtually. However, I believe that we have been able to hit other criteria that we may be granted it. So as soon as I find out, I will let everyone know. And then if we get granted it today, then it's going to be pants on fire to get everybody signed up and registered. So can't wait for that. And then the next thing, we are looking at September 8th of doing a ALC event. Everything's not finalized. However, the Chesterfield Market Center has reached out to us and they want to do a mastermind between their ALC and our ALC. They see our market center doing some really great things, so they want to pick our brains. And obviously we want to pick theirs. Their OP is Mark King. So I'm sure there's definitely something that we can learn from them. So I'm trying to get that finalized. What we're thinking is we'll probably be doing a mastermind session between 11 and 2. And then afterwards, if you guys want, we thought we could potentially go to Big Shots for just like a fun ALC outing right after.
Just our part, not both of them.
Yeah, correct, because they have to travel back. So working on getting that finalized as soon as possible, and then I will let you guys know. But that is September 8th is the date that we are looking at for that. And if we do the mastermind, we may do it at the Frisco building over off Chestnut and 65. So it's like an out of market center, so we can kind of focus on the mastermind, and then we're right down the road from Big Shots if that's what you guys would like to do. So very fun opportunity, and I felt very honored for our market center that they reached out and said, hey, we want to learn from you guys, and there's so many things that we can learn from them as well. So that's kind of what we're looking at for calendar. If you guys are going to host a market center offsite gathering, let me know, because I would love to create a party pack for you guys. So since you're not going to be here, you guys can have something to take for your event there. So Paulina, Austin, let me know, and anybody else that's doing it. And I believe that is all. Oh, the holiday party, we'd have set a date for that. So the Keller Williams holiday party is going to be Friday, December 17th at the Old Glass Place. We're working on getting a RSVP for that. And then for those of you that don't know, the GSBOR Christmas party is Friday, December 3rd at the Old Glass Place. So same location, different events. So that way you guys.
Can I throw in on that real quick?
Yep.
On the GSBOR one, tickets go on sale October 15th. It will be sold out by October 16th because Glass Place for the entire board of realtors is smaller. And we want as many Keller Williams people there as possible. So mark your calendar, October 15th. It's going to be like a fast sellout on a concert. They're going to go quick, but we want a bunch of people there for it. So maybe we could.
So what we used to be able to do, or kind of say, this is how many we want for KW, like a pre-order form, and they're trying to switch it so it's more individualized. So every agent will be responsible of getting their own. So unfortunately, we cannot help you through this process. Okay, I believe that's all for the events we have right now. Obviously, we're working on getting our chili cook-off costume for October and our Thanksgiving potluck ready for October and November. As soon as we have those dates, we will let you know.
Can you talk to him about our new team meeting formats?
Yeah, so we are trying to create a more structured team meeting for everybody. Who doesn't love more structure? So the first week of every month, we are going to be doing a guest speaker. So who can we bring outside of our market center to provide value, or maybe even inside our market center? So if you guys have suggestions of who you'd like to see either Zoom or in person, please let us know. We would love to get connected with them. So it's a different perspective of what other KW agents are doing in different markets. The second week is always going to be awards and recognition. So who are cappers from the previous month? Who is top individual in units, sales volume, listings, teams, groups, all of that. Because we want it to be shown that, okay, if I'm an individual agent and I had 7 units close this month, maybe other agents can say, oh, if they're able to do that, how can I do that next? Kind of like the 4-minute mile, right? Once it was achieved, then it just keeps continually being beaten.
And that meeting was huge. The first time we did it, and I see a lot of activity, excitement with it. So that's gonna be a cool one. That's the second Tuesday of each month.
Yep. And the third Tuesday every month is going to be numbers. So looking at our lore numbers, KWR, region, market center, and even broker metrics statistics, breaking those down so you can have those value pieces to go back to your clients. And then the fourth week is always going to be culture. So we want to spotlight anybody in our local community, in our market center, anybody that we believe is a culture fit within KW, and we want to be able to recognize them that way.
And since this month has 5 weeks and next week is mega camp, we're not going to have team meeting next week. So the culture one will be the last week of the month. And we've even thought about having one of the committees help host. So if you all have something in your committee and you want to be part of the hosting on that team meeting, we got about 2 weeks away from it. So think about it, let us know, but we are going to be coming around asking you all too. So that would go volunteers first.
And speaking of culture, on that Thursday morning of Mega Camp, we would love for you to join us down here in the training center for the Cultural Summit with Mo Anderson, because Amy will also be recognized during that time. And since she wasn't able to travel to Austin for the event, we would love for you guys to be down here and help us celebrate her.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it starts at 9 a.m. and we will have breakfast. So
We were
Yeah.
talking about this morning, and it normally is incredible. I mean, there's usually not a dry eye.
We have like a group email thread with everybody that's been, and Mo Anderson jumped in our group email and said the thing she was most sad about was she wasn't going to get to hug every one of us. That's her
Wow.
favorite part of
It
the
is true.
event every year.
Yes.
When you talk about the 52 points of culture and what that means for KW, one of those specifically is giving 7 hugs a day. And that is directly from Mo.
Socially distant hugs.
Well, now, yes, but 7 hugs a day. So I'm
She
sure
goes,
she's-
if you don't give 7 hugs a day, you get weird. That's a direct quote from Mo.
Okay, so other than that, we will turn to our team best practices and the social media policy. We have made the corrections from just the small minor grammatical errors and fixed that. So we would love to be able to have either more conversation or vote on the social media policy and guideline and the team group best practices. So we can start with the social media first, since that's kind of probably not as page heavy if needed. So if any of you are in favor of voting this, I will need someone to make a motion, someone to second, and then we will say yay or nay of getting this in vote in place to add to our policy and guideline manual. We actually took this from another market center that was implementing it. Just with the changing world of social media, we wanted to have some sort of structure in there because we don't have any sort of structure when it comes to social media.
And talking with Jim Bolin and everything, it's become more and more of a thing. And since I've been here, and because of the way state of the world since the pandemic and everything, it was time to start actually making it be a verbal written document.
Hold on.
Oh, I got it.
Is this governing our business social media or our own personal social media? Because
You as a
I think-
representative of Keller Williams.
I just think that we have to tread lightly on this personally. Body over there.
Yes.
I think to go one step farther on that, the whole point of this is because of people's personal pages, that something inappropriate was written and it got connected to Keller Williams by clicks. And then Keller Williams was added to other pages that came specifically down on the Springfield Market Center. So I understand and completely respect where you're coming from, because I think that's really, really smart. However, it's, if somebody says something very inappropriately on a personal page and it gets connected to Keller Williams, I think the reason why that is coming down.
And not really that.
Nice. Wow.
I mean, there was, outside of that comment, other agents last year. I mean, we had to, since I've been here, we've had to fire, I think, 3 agents alone for their social media and receiving, like, for instance, our Keller Williams' Springfield page will receive screenshots and said, hey, this agent works for your company. We don't believe this should be something that should be talked about. And so then it's okay, how are we responding as a market center? And so we need some sort of structure or teeth in the game for our agents to understand that you are a representative of Keller Williams, Greater Springfield. You have freedoms and rights, and it's also reflecting on our company.
There are consequences, right?
Always. I mean, everyone on our team signs one just for that exact reason. You have a choice whether or not you want to post something. The company also has a choice whether or not they want you to be a part of their company.
It's also not, it's not just what you post, but what you comment, because, well, but yes, but in an instance last year, we had some agents who were being very attacking and negative on somebody else's post. They were commenting and they were out of integrity, because we are supposed to have integrity in all things, and all things would include social media.
Well said about the white force C2Ts, integrity in all things. Oh,
And if anybody wants to look at something recent that's out there. Take a look at what's going on with Samantha Cherry.
Mm.
That, you know, and not that it's anything, but went to the news and said, you know, is a lead agent with EXP. And there were 267 comments yesterday when I looked at it. And probably 25 or 30 of them were, this greedy realtor is just doing this. And it wasn't directed, you know, it was at all of us in general. And I'm not saying that she did anything wrong, but the fact that she did a interview and put her company in that interview with something that has nothing to do with the company makes this necessary, I think.
Well, and those are code of ethics MREC violations. Like you cannot, and people are doing it. I mean, I've seen a ton of them where people are talking horribly about specific agents or specific brokerages. I mean, we're just not allowed to do it, and it's a code of ethics violation. So, I mean, where does that come to this? Because it is a board requirement. So, but we're wanting to add like Keller Williams as specific so that we can say you are being dismissed and we will no longer support you because of.
Correct. So we have MRAC guidelines, we have GSBR standards, we have code of ethics, and yet there's nothing directly for our brokerage. So if we talk about you are a representative of Keller Williams Greater Springfield, what are our expectations of that? So when agents are coming in, it's set from the very beginning that you've acknowledged that you've received this, and this is how we want our agents in the light to be shown in the community.
I would say as visible participants in any community. Oh, Sam, it's just one of those integrity issues of knowing the consequences of what we say and how we say it. And this is kind of the ideal of what we want our people to be and act like.
All right, so I'm all about the integrity and not being harassing of anybody. Code of ethics. My concern is, because I'm a political person, is, and you said about being specific, what specifically are they allowed to do and not to do and post and say and comment, especially during this time that we live in, without treading into fire?
Well, I think it allows a result in a conversation. I think when we get too specific, it's could potentially hinder a lot of people. But yet, if it's being brought up to us from clients in the community or anybody for that matter, it's going back into this and saying, okay, it's a conversation about, do you believe what had happened is holding Keller Williams to Greater Springfield in this sort of light? I think it starts a conversation. It's a guideline or like bumpers in a bowling alley, right? You have the flexibility of operating within, and yet we want to make sure that Keller Williams is this way.
I'm not worried personally. I'm really not. It's just, I can see this going down a rabbit hole and people take it one way and someone else getting their feelings hurt. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, it had nothing to do with Keller Williams, you know, just because you happen to be.
Well, perfect example. We had an agent that was potentially joining us. They were referred to us. I met with her, and there were some things that had been posted on her social media that were, in all of our opinions, borderline completely inappropriate. And so I had a conversation with her that, you know, by being associated with our office, that would never be appropriate during your being a real estate agent with our office. As long as you're okay with that, then that would be fine for you to join us. But it had to be a conversation. There are standards and there are expectations, and that's basically, this is a written document of standards and expectations. Does that make sense?
Trying to be very careful, because in the world that we live in, and we come from a teaching background where you have to walk on eggshells, but no matter what you say or do, you can't please everybody, and someone's going to get offended, and you didn't mean anything whatsoever offensive by it. But all of a sudden, it changes your business that you
have a conversation with you and say, hey, repeatedly we're getting complaints about this or that or this or that. So it needs to be changed, or there's consequences with Keller Williams. And then it becomes, like they said, a conversation to have.
Yeah.
And it allows for us to actually go back and defend ourselves as a company based upon this. Does that make sense? So someone can come from outside and go, blah, 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 look what your agent did. And you go, actually, that's completely against our guidelines and our expectations of our agents. So I want you to know we've done our duty to make sure that we aren't, as a company, promoting offending others. Does that make sense?
And it says it may, so this will be part of the policy and guidelines acknowledging that they received it and they have read it. So it will be something that we will be sending out to everybody of what it would be, like an update of it. And then probably trying to figure out how we would have everyone sign and acknowledge it. And I don't know, moving forward, if we can show that we've properly communicated the new policy and send it out and can show that we've communicated it. I don't know if there's much we can do retroactively as far as having them sign something potentially.
Sending it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Absolutely.
I was a new agent and you guys put this in front of me during onboarding, I wouldn't like read line by line and be like, okay, I'm not joining this company because they don't want me to post offensive stuff. It would be more of a reminder that
Oh, yeah.
don't post these things because it may have a negative impact on this company.
Well
And we're
said.
not saying that, I mean, it says failure to follow these policies may result in disciplinary action up and including discharge. It may result, right? It just allows us to start the conversation of, hey, this is where we're standing. Like, this is where we're at. We understand that you may not have seen this. However, other people perceive so many different things in different lights. So
And you're absolutely right, Sam. People can be offended by anything. And yet there's a level of reasonability that is just common sense in most of the time. And so, but having this document allows us to be able to overcome almost all of the infractions against our agents and our office.
I think that was my biggest question, is offensive to whom and what level of offense, because we live in a really divided country right now and everybody's divided about everything. And these people are offended about this and these people are offended about this. And we try to walk a real neutral fine line. We service clients of all different faiths, religions, backgrounds, orientations, whatever. It is really difficult to not offend somebody unless you just stay super, super neutral. And then the other question would be like offensive language. Maybe, I don't know, do we need to clearly define that? I think things that I was raised believing you should have your mouth washed out with soap, I hear agents throw out there like it is just an everyday word.
Oh,
all day,
Mo Anderson
every
would have
day.
left. Yeah. Oh, it's insane.
So,
Yeah.
so that's my other question. I'm thinking, well, how detailed are we going to be on this offensive language?
Well, and I mean, in California, if somebody sneezes, I say, God bless you. I've been railed for that. I have been, right? And so people will be offended by anything. It's just.
hold on, Mike.
Oh, sorry.
The holiday party
Oh, yeah.
versus, that's what I'm saying, or if you don't agree with the administration that's in right now, you can't say anything saying that you disagree or you don't like them or whatever. And all of a sudden you're going to have someone go to Tim in the office and say, hey, this person said something about the president or whatever. That I'm just worried about.
I had to have 3 different separate conversations with Black Lives Matter, calling and complaining about how we operate as an office and being put on the list to basically be targeted by them.
So
Our office.
That's the beauty of Keller Williams, right? It's not based off of Tim's opinion only. It's not based off of Dan's opinion only. We have an ALC committee. So if it gets to that point that we need to bring it to, we have 18 other people that can share light and say, okay, is this appropriate? Yes or no?
Yeah, okay.
It's
I
not
feel
a
more comfortable with something like
Yeah.
that.
To where you can make decisions like that. I don't think there's a problem with this at all.
No, and that's literally, we could fire it and get out of business with somebody for any reason, anything anyway. This just gives us some backbone. If somebody says, hey, what's your social media policy? Boom, there it is. The thing about it is, if all of a sudden somebody says something, I call somebody a bad name, they can fire me tomorrow and there's nothing I can do about it. So this is really, to me, this is just hey, we have a policy and this is what it is kind of a deal.
You're right.
Because
though.
we've got a business with 3 or 4 people this year over Not necessarily this exact thing, but some similar things.
And that's a great point. So at what point do you have to implement a policy into your market center? Not until something happens and you realize you don't have it and you don't have anything to show for it. So same way. So how can we be proactive? So if something were to happen, we can go back and say, here is this versus it happening. So
Just a quick question. It is 10:30. Can I get a motion to extend the meeting 5 minutes or?
more than 5
Yeah, well,
minutes.
okay, 10 minutes then. Okay. All right, perfect.
So rather than having a long list of rules, principles are what's behind it. So just, are we operating the Y4C2Ts in everything that we do? So if we're out of alignment with any of that, that could be grounds for termination with our company, and that would apply to social media as well. So if people wonder, well, is it appropriate? Is it not appropriate? If we refer back to our Y4C2Ts, that's going to be our guiding principles.
Thank you, cultural ambassador.
So who decides if, okay, so we would be the one deciding whether this person
So
would-
normally we don't take it to ALC unless we need to, right? If it's, a lot of these have been very black and white of what has happened, and yet we have the option of bringing it to if needed, right? We, as your ALC members, we believe that you trust leadership, Dan, Tim, Mike, myself, to be able to make those decisions. And yet we know if it's kind of a very gray area, we have the opportunity to bring it to you and present it and say, okay, this is what's happening. There's a lot of things that go on that we have been able to make those decisions on, and that no one's ever said like that's wrong of what we've done, right? So we can have the opportunity to bring it, and yet normally it goes to us. I think it depends on the case, right? Or it depends on the instance. It allows to start the conversation, have the conversation, see where it's at, and see what level of offense it is. I mean,
For example, the conversation Tim was talking about, I listened to the whole thing. I was in the room with it. And basically they were threatening to boycott us unless we fired an agent.
And by boycotting, he means exposed to the world that Keller Williams is a racist and promotes racist things, and that, you know, no one should use Keller Williams because of X, Y, and Z. And if we don't fire them, there was basically, you know, if you don't do this, then we're going to do this.
And the interesting word this person used twice was, we'd hate for your emails to be bombed with people saying things. They used the word bombed.
Yeah,
twice.
no, bombing.
Yeah,
They literally.
not saying, but I mean, just enough that it was the.
Well, and thank God for Mark. Mark's client, who loves him, is a part of it, and said, I know Mark. Mark's company is a great company. You're about to get bombed. I'm going to call them. She went against their policy to reach out to me and warn me of what was about to happen. And then thus she was able to connect me with her superior, who I ended up having a conversation with on 2 or 3 different occasions. And luckily we were able to work through that without ramification.
But the fact of having something in place, when somebody calls like that, we say, yes, we have a standard, we can look into this. The person, I was thinking of a different person we talked about too. It was amazing last year how many different calls came in on things like this. And Sam, you're right. Some people are so far left or so far right. And I've talked with one agent, not at our company, who posts all kinds of way off the top stuff. They said, yeah, but I'm gaining market from doing that. I'm getting business from what I'm posting. So the world is crazy. Example, 2 weeks ago, I got flagged by Facebook because I posted something that says, always carry a knife with you in case there's cheesecake or if someone needs to get stabbed. And I got flagged for inciting violence. So this is a moving target all over. Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is. But ultimately, like Rachel is saying, this is something that we need to enact to give us a tool for things in the future. It isn't as much about we want to take away freedoms at all. It's more of a, hey, we do have a standard. If you have a team, you have a standard. Show up on time. If you don't show up on time, you're not going to be a good fit for the team. It's almost identical to that in that retrospect. Yes, sir. Hold on.
I've got a motion to vote.
All right, so can we, motion to approve from Josh? Yep. And do we get a second? All right. Okay.
All in favor?
All opposed? Perfect. All right, with 100%, motion passes. And so everybody will get a copy of this in their email.
What are you doing?
I'm looking at Austin.
Oh my gosh. We love you, Austin. Even if you're in Florida. And lastly, yes, lastly, with all the little adjustments that were made grammatically to this, do we have a motion to vote on this? Motion to vote from Sam Hayes, second from Elise. And as far as voting, yay. Oh. Yep.
Second by Elise.
Sorry, I had to send this into the region.
Right. Perfect.
Write it down.
Perfect.
No one can read
Okay.
it.
And opposed? Anybody opposed? All right, motion passes with 100%. Excellent. Thank you so much for being here a little bit later than normal. We appreciate all of your input and your advice and comments.
We'll see you at 4.
4
And I'll
o'clock.
be sending out an email on events, confirmation of bowl, things like that.
Awesome. Thank you, Austin, for being on. Appreciate you. And I will end the meeting.